All right, good morning, everyone. It's we just hit 10 o'clock, 10:01. Everyone's here, and we'll get this meeting started. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is being called to hear applications under the Planning Act for minor variance and/or consent. This is a statutory public meeting. Anyone having an interest in any of these applications may make oral or written submission for the committee's consideration. The committee will render a verbal decision this date, and the agent applicant will receive a copy of the committee's decision in writing via email 10 days after the meeting. Please note, each application will be addressed in the following manner. The planning coordinator will introduce the application and staff recommendation outlined in the report, which was posted on the City of Kitchener website the Friday prior to this morning's meeting. The chair will remind the committee of late written submissions circulated prior to the meeting that should be taken into consideration. The chair will confirm with the applicant/agent if they've reviewed the staff report and whether in support of the staff recommendation. The chair will invite parties in opposition to make an oral submission. Parties providing oral submission should endeavor to keep their comments succinct and avoid repeating comments already stated by other parties. The committee members may ask questions of the parties in opposition, if there are any, and the chair will invite the agent applicant to make comments, if any. The agent applicant also has the opportunity to ask questions of city staff. The committee members may ask questions of the agent applicant, and the committee members may also ask questions for city staff. Then, the committee will pass a motion to approve, reject, or defer the application. Next, we have our minutes. The regular minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on June 17, 2025, asked to the members. Just looking for that to be accepted, so I'll need someone to make that motion and someone to second that to approve our minutes from our last meeting. Moved by Member Bob, seconded by Member Marco. All those in approving the minutes from our last meeting? All in favor? That's unanimous, so carried, and it's approved. Next, I'm going to call for any pecuniary interest or any conflicts of interest. So if any members of the committee have any conflicts, can you please let me know at this point?
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest for application B 2025-021. That's 546 Cortland Avenue East. Conflict of interest is related to my employment.
Thank you. Member Marco?
Yeah, I would like to declare a conflict of interest with application A 2025-063, 55 Shoemaker Street. I have a familial tie with one of the businesses at that property.
Thank you for that. So when we get to those items in the agenda, I'll just kindly ask you to exit while we're hearing those items and during consideration, and then we'll ask you to come back. So for those two separate items. So thank you. So moving along in our agenda, we have some unfinished business from a previous meeting. We're at B 2024-031, 829 Sterling Avenue South. If I can ask the planning coordinator to introduce the application as well as the staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is an application for consent that was heard by the committee in November of 2024. The proposal was to create 2 lots for a semi-detached dwelling. Staff, the committee recommended that the application be deferred until the foundation could be poured for the semi-detached dwelling, at which time then we would establish the lot lines. So it was deferred to this meeting to give the opportunity for that semi-detached dwelling to be constructed. I understand at this point that it has not been, and that the applicant is requesting a further deferral.
Thank you for that. Do we have an agent or an applicant for this agenda item? Yeah, if you can welcome and come up to that chair over there on my right, your left. If you can introduce yourself, please, and then whether you're in favor of the deferral. Oh, just right over there, sorry, to your left. Oh, sorry, right there. Perfect. My apologies, I wasn't very clear. Thank you.
Hi, this is Harsha. So I'm the applicant for representing Karthik Bontu. The delay was the change of plan. Previously, we used to have the basement plan and we have updated. the delay of permissions made us to start the project a little bit, and the financial thing also. So we'll be starting the project in next 45 days with the foundation.
Excellent. So you're in favor of the deferral, and then just like, how much time do you need?
So 8 months to be said in short.
Thank you. Is there anyone in opposition to this application? Seeing none, the applicant has made some comments. Members of the committee, do you have any questions? Member Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the letter that was sent in by the applicant, I believe they're looking for an 8-month or sooner. So we should probably put that into the deferral and a beefer. So I will move that, subject to discussion, I will move that this application be deferred for 8 months or sooner, if that's acceptable to staff and the board.
Excellent, thank you. So we have a motion. Need a seconder? Member Marco, seconded for a deferral of 8 months or sooner. I'll now open the floor to debate. If seeing no debate, no debate? Okay, I'll call for the vote, so that's for the deferral. All those in favor of the deferral? All in favor, unanimous. Thank you, and good luck. Fantastic, moving on. Now we have new business. First, we have an item on the agenda, but I'm not sure they're here yet, for Tupper Crescent. Are they in the gallery? Still here? Okay. So we'll move on. So yeah, so next is A 2025-062, 124 Tupper Crescent. If I can kindly ask the planning coordinator to introduce the application as well as the staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 124 Tupper Crescent. The application is not to or not to require, rather, a visual barrier to be provided between the parking area and the lot abutting a residential zone where a visual barrier is required in this location. The proposal is to create two new dwelling units within existing buildings. So there's currently 23 for a total of now 25 dwelling units. So the property is required to be brought into zoning compliance, which does require that visual barrier. The visual barrier construction would have some implications or possibly obstructions to an existing ballot easement. And given the location adjacent to open space in the easement, staff have no concerns with not having to require that visual barrier. Accordingly, staff have reviewed the variance in light of the four tests of the Planning Act, finds that it meets all four, and is recommending approval.
Wonderful, thank you for that. If I can invite the agent of the applicant to come forward to the microphone and let me know if you've reviewed the staff report and whether you're in support of the staff recommendation. Thank you.
All right. Good morning. My name is Tasha Adair. I'm a senior planner with MHBC. I have reviewed the staff report, and we are in support of staff recommendation.
Excellent, thank you. Are there anyone in the gallery here in opposition to this application? Seeing none, you are in favor. I guess you'd have no other comments regarding this application?
No comments about it. Thank you.
Members committee, any questions for the agent? None? Any questions for city staff? Go ahead.
Just a question for staff, just for context, just so make sure I'm understanding. It wasn't a case where there was a minor variance previously for the existing units. It was a non-compliant property, and at this point, we're bringing it into compliance?
So I would have to double check the age of the building, but I believe at the time the building was constructed, there was not the requirement for the visual barriers, given the age of the building. So, but because they want to add 2 new dwelling units to the building, we want to bring it up to zoning compliance.
Thank you.
Yeah, if there are no further questions, I'll wait for a motion from the committee members. Member Maria?
I set a motion for us to approve this application as per the staff report.
Excellent, thank you. Seconded by Member Marco. I'll open the floor up for debate. Yeah, seeing no debate, looks pretty straightforward to me. So I will call for the vote. All those in favor to approve? All those are in favor, so approved, unanimous. Good luck. Yeah, next on the agenda, A 2025-063, 55 Shoemaker Street. Member Marco has said he's got a conflict, so we're going to ask you to just step out. We'll call you when we're done. Thank you. Now that Member Marco has stepped out, may I invite the planning coordinator to introduce the application and staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 55 Shoemaker Street. It is a parking variance. The site contains an industrial building with 14 units. They have 44 parking spaces. The parking requirement for the aggregate uses is 81 parking spaces, so they'd like the reduction from 81 to 44. Staff have reviewed the application in light of a site plan application and a parking justification study. The variance is desirable because the building contains 14 units, and typically the parking requirement is calculated based on the use of each unit, which makes it challenging with the turnover of units, the aggregate calculation of parking based on the different parking rates of the different uses in the building. So it's more desirable to have a blanket or a multi-unit rate for the entirety of this site, which would facilitate the rental and tenancy of the vacant units. Staff, again, have reviewed the parking justification study. My colleague here has provided support to the application. So in light of that, staff have reviewed it in light of the 4 tests. The Planning Act finds that it meets all 4 tests. We are also suggesting that in the recommendation that the fitness center use of the units be limited to 800 square meters. That is in justification in line with the parking justification study.
Excellent, thank you so much. If I can invite the agent and applicant to come forward, please introduce yourself and let us know if you've reviewed the staff report and whether you're in support of the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stefano Rosatone. I work with Urban Solutions, and we're the agent working on behalf of the landowner. I've had a chance to review the staff report, and I do agree with staff's recommendation to approve this variance. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. I'd now like to invite parties that are in opposition, if there are any, to come forward. Not seeing any. You have the opportunity now as the agent if you have any further comments, but if you're in approval.
Yeah, no further comments. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions for the agent here from committee members? No questions? Any questions for city staff? No? Oh, go ahead.
I just want to clarify that that condition will just be added to the summary in the report.
So the recommendation is based on limiting for that 800 meters. So the variance is subject to that maximum 800 meters in the recommendation. So that's the actual decision. So that parking requirement is based on a maximum of 800 square meters of floor area for the fitness area.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions for the agent or the city staff, I'll look for a motion, please. Member Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is fairly straightforward. So I'm going to move that this be approved as per the staff report.
Seconder? Member Amanda? So the floor is open for debate. Yeah, it seems like a significant decrease in parking, but it does make sense, and it gives the owner more flexibility to find tenants that will suit the building well. So it seems like it makes sense in that parking study. Yeah, a lot of great information in there. So if there's any other comments or debate, seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, which is to approve. All those in favor, so unanimous, it's carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
And then we'll ask Member Marco to come back, please. Thank you. Welcome back, Member Marco. We'll get going. Next is A 2025-064 and A 2025-065, 82 Brunswick Avenue. So if I can invite the planning coordinator to introduce the application and the staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is two minor variance applications for 82 Brunswick Avenue, one for each side of a proposed new semi-detached dwelling. The variances are to permit a parking requirement of 1 instead of the minimum required 2, and to permit a rear yard of 5.6 on one side versus the 7.5, and then the other semi would be a rear yard of 7 meters instead of the required 7.5. The committee may remember these applications. Similar applications were considered in May. The variances included 2 other variances. There was a increase in maximum driveway width that the committee considered, and that impacted the minimum amount of landscaping in the front yard that could be provided. So there were 2 additional variances that the committee considered in May. The applicant also was proposing 4 dwelling units on each side of the semi-detached dwelling. They have now since revised their proposal to have 3 dwelling units on each side rather than 4. So this does reduce the parking requirement, which also limits, so it facilitates a tandem situation in terms of driveway and parking that they're providing in this proposal. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of the 4 tests. Given the rear yard variance and the parking variance, staff are satisfied that the variances do meet the 4 tests and are recommending approval of the applications, subject to the condition that the applicant prepare a plan outlining the location of the proposed dwelling in relation to trees on adjacent properties and street trees in the boulevard.
Excellent, thank you. If I can invite the applicant or the agent to come forward to the microphone, please. Introduce yourself, let us know if you review the staff report, and whether you're in support of the staff recommendation, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amy Brooke, and I am the owner of this property along with my husband, Nigel Brooke, and we are in support of the staff report.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to invite parties in opposition to make oral submissions. I will take note that in our package, there were several written submissions that were read by the committee. I think there was, upwards of a dozen letters that were submitted for this application, and yeah, they were all read. So thank you for submitting those. So I see we have people willing to make oral submissions. The only thing I ask is just try not to repeat things that were stated in the letters. Yeah, the floor is yours. If you can just introduce yourself, please, and then speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for allowing me to speak today. My name is Rachel Miller, and I'm a resident of Brunswick Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the residents and the families who live there. In some neighborhoods, this parking reduction would be minor. However, Brunswick is narrow at only 7 meters. There's no street parking, sidewalk, or boulevard on the east side, where this building will be. The west side has a boulevard that only goes part way, and it's too narrow to actually park a vehicle. For several months of the year, there's no overnight parking at all. We are not along an ION route, and there's no public parking lots nearby. The only parking option on this street is driveway parking, and this makes Brunswick Avenue unique and differentiates it from other parking variances that may have been granted elsewhere in Kitchener. The 6 units proposed could have 14 residents or 6 families with access to only 2 parking spots. Even if tenants are selected who do not have cars, this is insufficient parking. It's insufficient now when more than 90% of residents and families have at least 1 car, and it'll be insufficient in the future, especially if there's an increase in electric vehicles, meaning tenants need a spot to plug in. This will lead to conflict between the residents of Brunswick, the tenants of this building, and the city. It will certainly impact the safety of our street, and it will make this property less desirable for renters. And based on this, we don't see it as a minor variance at all. I want to be clear, we're not against densification of this lot, but we would be remiss not to bring our safety and logistical concerns forward to your attention. For our own children, the pedestrians who use the street, and the future children and families who will inhabit this building. The mitigating characteristics that allow for a minor parking variance elsewhere don't exist on Brunswick Avenue, and we ask that you deny the parking variance requested and that the developers be given the opportunity to make a plan that includes parking in accordance with the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Kelly Targos. Good day to all of you. Thank you for allowing us to be here and to speak today. I'm here not only as a longtime resident of this neighborhood, but I'm here on behalf of a deeply connected, engaged, and caring community. This is one that has come together to say clearly, we do not support this proposed development. The people you see behind me are a very small fraction of the people that are in opposition, and unfortunately, due to the time of day and during the week, we just can't all leave our jobs and our children to come. As Rachel said, this is not in opposition to change. We know that change is inevitable. What we are standing against is the wrong kind of change, the kind that risks the very thing that make our neighborhoods safe, vibrant, and family-oriented. I understand that the purpose of this meeting is to consider a variance application, specifically a reduction in parking and a rear yard setback, but I'm here to tell you this request is about so much more than numbers on a site plan. This is about the lives of the people in our community. I live on Brunswick. I'm my elderly neighbor's emergency contact. We share lemons and sugar and herbs. I water gardens when people are away. This is a real neighborhood. This is a place where people know and look out for one another. This parking variance will affect our daily lives. Families in this region do not live long-term without at least one vehicle. I included this in my original letter. 94% of KW households at least have one car. That's not a theory. This is a lived reality. Reducing parking for a 6-unit development to just 2 spaces means inevitable overflow onto an already narrow residential street, blocking driveways and creating an unsafe congestion. Within 50 meters of this property, there are at least 10 kids who walk, bike, and play here daily. This neighborhood was not designed for dense, underparked housing. It was designed for families, and it works well because we all take care of each other. Introducing overflow parking and short-term tenants without adequate infrastructure creates real safety risks for our children. This isn't a student area. We're 40 minutes by bus to the U of W and over an hour to the Conestoga Dune campus. We've seen what happens when developers force density into the wrong spaces. Front yards get paved for parking and tenant turnover skyrockets. And we've seen this on Heartwood, which is just around the corner. And if you read our letters from our previous application, you know that we've continued to talk about that. The developer has told us directly they need at least 6 units to qualify for commercial leasing rates, commercial financing. This isn't about a community need. This is about profit, and the community should not be asked to compromise safety, cohesion, and livability of a neighborhood just to improve somebody's financing rate and profit. We are not against development. We're against development that doesn't fit and that ignores the people who live here. The city's role isn't to serve a financial model, it's to protect livable, connected neighborhoods like ours. Please reject this variance request. Listen to the residents that are here and not here. And so you are aware, like I said, this is a very small representation of the street because we could not all be here and leave our jobs. Thank you for our time, for your time and for your consideration.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for the letters. I appreciate that. Now I invite members of the committee to have, if they have any questions for the members of the opposition seated here today, you're open to ask them. Member Marco?
It's a little less of a question, but I would like to address some of their concerns, if that's okay. So when I was reading some of the letters, traffic absolutely seems to be a pretty common concern. Regardless of the outcome, regardless of the decision, if that is a persistent concern, you can absolutely reach out to your city councilors. There are design changes that can be made to the street, traffic calming, that will slow down drivers. Figured I would mention it. It's worth considering. That's all for now.
Thank you. If I'm seeing no further questions of opposition, I now invite the agent, or the owner, pardon me, then to make any comments. The floor is yours.
I just have a small statement to read, if that's okay. We are grateful for the opportunity to present this application and for the collaboration that we've had with the city staff throughout this process. We have worked hard to refine our plans, and we're confident that this proposal now fully meets the 4 criteria for minor variance. This plan aligns with the intent of the zoning bylaw while supporting smart, gentle intensification. We previously introduced ourselves to some of the neighbours to be transparent about the project and reassure them that we take pride in being responsible property owners. We'll be managing this building professionally with a focus on maintaining a high standard and being respectful of the neighbourhood. Although after the last committee, we could have moved straight to the building permit for the as-of-right 8-unit build with the 2 detached ADUs, we intentionally chose a design that we feel is a better fit for the character of the neighbourhood. Our proposed 6-plex, 3 units on either side, includes a mix of 2 to 3 bedroom units offering quality housing that appeals to families and professionals. We will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for the owner?
Just wondering if you could speak a little bit to how you anticipate handling parking, just with the leases.
The main floor, 3-bedroom units will get the parking. The others will have no parking. We just have 2, and we believe that there's plenty of tenants out there that do not want to pay extra for parking. We are close to public transport around there. We have just filled 2 other units ourselves that did not have tenants with cars. And this is something that's desirable, and it's actually becoming more that tenants do not always have cars and they don't want to pay for that extra money to have the parking space.
And just one other question while I have the floor. It's clearly an awkward shaped lot and thus the setbacks at the rear. And in terms of the property to the east, definitely there's no room there for a second parking spot. I wondered if you had considered the property to the west, whether that's a possibility, or does that start to impact sort of landscaping space?
On the last application, if we did it added another one at that side, it required a driveway widening, I believe, from 40% to 60%, and it also narrowed down the landscaping from 20% to 17.3%. Yes, that would be desirable, but we wasn't clear exactly what the opposition was from last time, and so we were told that it was the driveway widening and that one variance impacted another, hence why we went down this route.
Okay, thank you.
There's no more questions for the owner. Any questions for city staff? I have one. The owner mentioned if they didn't go through a minor variance and they just as of right built the units that they were allowed to do so, what would be the requirement for parking in that regard? If they added the more units they can as of right, how many parking spots would they need?
So the building could be built as of right as a semi-detached dwelling. It could also be built as of right as a semi-detached duplex, so 2 units on either side. The parking requirement for 2 units would be 2, because it would be 1 for the primary dwelling, and then I believe it's 0.6 for the additional dwelling unit, rounded up to 2 parking spaces.
Thank you. Any more questions? If there's no questions, then I'll look for a motion. Even if you don't agree, you can make the motion. We can just open the floor up for debate, and then after debate, then we can have a vote. So even if you just make it, we can get a motion, just get the ball rolling, so to speak. Marco?
Yeah, for the sake of discussion, I will move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Bob, thank you. So we have a motion which is to approve the staff recommendation, which is an approval. So the floor now is open for debate. Member Marco.
It's a tricky one. It is a fairly central neighborhood. It's only a couple kilometers from the GO train station, so it's in a decent spot of the city in terms of accessibility to amenities and stuff nearby. But the parking is a little bit tricky. I believe last time that we saw this, we were concerned about the width of the driveway, and I think we expressed that concern, and the applicant, I think I had expressed that I would prefer a parking variance rather than a front yard that's a parking lot, and the applicant has reapplied with some alterations. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what my fellow members think of this application.
Member Amanda.
Thanks. I think in speaking with the owner, it's clear that they've made very concerted efforts to sort of work with the city and the property owners to find a happy medium, or the best they can towards a happy medium. I think with increased density comes with increased diversity in terms of housing needs, and I think this development's reflective of that. I'm particularly impressed by the size of the units. They're fairly substantial for the fact that there's 6 on this former single lot.
Yeah, thank you for those comments, fellow colleagues and members of the committee. Yeah, I appreciate the owners coming here and working hard and refining their plans and trying to work with something here. I do like that, and having less variances than they did before. I do also really hear what the opposition has to say, because I've experienced myself this firsthand, that even though the units are bigger and nicer than something that we've seen, it still creates an issue for parking, and it seems like it's a minor variance going from 2 to 1, but the impact is far greater than that. So yeah, I do have some concerns about that. I have no issues with the other variances, but parking for me is a big issue with this, and I think for that reason I'm not in favor of the variance on parking, because I see it can work in the future, but right now it doesn't really work in neighborhoods. It's really hard, especially on these narrow streets, for it to work, and I've just seen it personally that way. But I do really appreciate what the owners are trying to do here, and create some nice units that families can enjoy and live in, and working with city staff, so I'm torn in that regard. But for me, parking is a big concern here. I'll wait if any members have any further comments before calling a vote. Member Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having been sitting on this committee for, a few months now, whenever we get lots of opposition from the neighbors of a proposed development, that catches my eye. If it's 1 or 2, that's significant, but when we get 25, red flags go up. I appreciate the fact that the applicant has worked with the city and has brought forward an application that is preferred over the one that they brought back in May. I also want to underscore what you, Mr. Chair, had said about the opposition, and that I have heard what they have said. I truly appreciate the fact that not everyone can be here at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, and thank you for taking the time. It's important in a democratic world that we hear from all people, and you have been heard. I agree with you, Mr. Chair, that the parking, and I think this is going to be a problem for just about every application we have moving forward in perpetuity. Parking is a problem. I know there is efforts in the planning community to try and arrange or rearrange how the parking issue is resolved, but cars aren't going anywhere. Well, they're going up and down the road, yes, but they're not disappearing from our community. They may switch to alternate fuels, electrical, hydrogen, but people have had individual mobility for thousands of years. And I know mass transit is great, but it doesn't work for everyone. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence, Mr. Chair. I do see the changes that have been made, and I'm in support of that, but I think parking is going to be an ongoing problem, and I wish I had a magical solution for it. I'm sure that the developers and the planners would love to hear a magical solution, and there isn't any. Having said that, we have to move ahead with things, so unless there's going to be some magical solution for changing the parking issues within our communities, I'm going to be in support of this application.
Member Marco?
Yeah, I have a couple more thoughts. I think one of the catch-22s with transit, as a fellow member mentioned, is it requires a certain minimum density for transit to make sense. And at that density, having parking for every unit doesn't necessarily make sense. So it's kind of, it's a little tricky to balance. I do have a question for the applicant, if that's okay.
Sure thing, and just maybe before, if I can just interject, just wondering about because hearing just different sides here though too, if it would be helpful if we can split this up, because there are two separate things here, if we can split up the parking or not. So I'll ask your question, but then perhaps then afterwards, wondering if we can split this up and try to work on some solution here, because I feel that there's two different sides here if it's possible. So with your question, and then just a heads up on that, if that would be possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I know it doesn't work for necessarily everyone, but I know it works for me. Sometimes having bicycle storage can be really helpful, especially with e-bikes, when finding space for parking is a challenge. Is there a consideration for bicycle storage?
Yes, there is, and that's in the plan for the inside for the C-class bicycle storage.
Okay, so if not to change things, if we do have a motion, I'm not trying to hijack as chair, but just trying to keep things going here. If it's possible, if we have an amendment, if we could split these things up.
Yes, of course, that was going to be my recommendation as I was hearing the discussion of the committee. Given the configuration of the lot, the rear lot line, I do think a variance is required, whether the units, whether there's 1 unit, 2 unit, or 3 units on each side, there's going to be a variance required for the rear yard. So I think it's appropriate for the committee to consider a rear yard variance, and then you can consider the parking variance.
Okay, I like that. I didn't make the motion. I believe member Marco and Bob seconded, if I recall correctly. So if we could perhaps make an amendment and then look to separate this, if that's okay. Does he have to withdraw his motion? Just make the amendment? Okay, thank you.
I would consider that a friendly amendment, Mr. Chair.
I would as well.
Okay, so we have a first and a seconder. So now we've separated the variances. So the first that we'll vote on is on the rear yard setback, correct? Okay, any discussion on the setback? Okay, so I'll call for the vote then on the setback portion of this application on the variance. So all those in favor on the setback? Okay, that's unanimous and that's carried. Okay. So next, then we have parking. So the floor is open for debate on parking. Any further comments? Madam Maria?
I have a question for the applicant, because I'm looking at the previous application, and there were 2 schemes with the 4 dwelling units, the ones that you had detached units on, but then there's also a scheme where you have 4 parking spaces within that, and the reason why that had to be removed was due to the landscape percentage, correct?
That's correct. We're requesting a driveway widening minor variance to fit the 2 on either side, which impacted the front yard landscaping. At one side, it was going down from 20% to 15%, and on the other from 20% to 17.3%.
So now I have a question for staff to maybe be the devil's advocate and not go back to maybe 4 parking spaces, but what if we were to explore adding an additional parking space? Instead of 2, you have 3 on the west side, and at least that gives back a bit of landscape area, but also an extra parking space.
So I understand the plans to ultimately sever the 2 dwelling units, so they'll be in separate ownership and not available for all 6 dwelling units. And the severance is required in order to get the 3 dwelling units on each side. And staff has not been supportive of driveway widenings, and that is the reason why the variances were refused in May. One variance did cause another variance of the landscaped area, but we've been pretty consistent since we've got the new zoning bylaw in effect in 2022. We have not supported any new driveway widenings.
Also, I'd just like to chime in that the city transportation staff's general stance is that the 7-meter wide road does meet our complete street guidelines for parking on one side of the street. In general, if the spaces are rented out to, if they are unbundled from the cost of the unit, then that means someone who's moving in there will not have a car, and we encourage residents to call bylaw if they notice illegal parking. So if there is no parking allowed overnight, we encourage them to call bylaw. That is the way that we enforce it. Otherwise, the residents, as long as the parking's unbundled, and generally we support these.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm not in support of this parking variance. I just don't think it's enough spots. 2 spots for 6 units just is not enough, and I know there's solutions as far as unbundling spaces with the rental and lease agreements and calling bylaw, but it just doesn't work for me. I've seen it, and it just is not possible, and it just doesn't work well. So for that reason, I'm not going to be in favor of the parking variance. But it pains me because I really appreciate the owners working with city and trying to find a solution here. But I'm not in favor. Mayor Bob?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I hear you loud and clear. How would we move forward with the parking variance not permitted? Where are they going to put the extra cars? Maybe that's a question for staff.
So the proposal does not include an attached garage, so there is an ability to provide 2 parking spaces, one in an attached garage and one in a driveway for tandem parking. The compromise is, though, that with an attached garage, the units will get smaller. So there's been a balance and consideration by the applicant as to size of units versus parking provision on the site. So the applicant opted for larger units with 1 parking space. There could be smaller dwelling units with an attached garage and parking space in the driveway.
I just want to make a comment. I feel like there's an assumption that's underscoring our discussion that there are going to be extra cars. And I guess I'd like to hear from the applicant, do you believe that these units are marketable without, and presumably you're securing financing based on their marketability as unbundled units, I guess, without parking?
Yes, completely. We have a lower rent because we're offering them with no parking. And like I say, we just have filled 2 units ourselves where there's been no parking available. And well, one actually did have parking available. Both tenants did not have cars and did not want to pay the extra for parking. So we actually reduced the rent on one because they didn't want that parking. So we know that it is out there, and that's what we're marketing to. Am I okay to add one more thing?
Sure.
I just wanted to comment on the proposal of the as of right 8-unit build that we decided wasn't the best option. We did put the plans together for that, so we kind of, to show what could be done. And that would be 4 units on each side. So it would be 3 units in the main building, then a detached ADU. With that, we would have had to do the garages, so there would have been very small units. But again, that would have only been 2 parking spaces per side for 8 units, and that was with an as of right. So actually, when we left here the last time, we were sent, the next kind of stage to apply for the building permit. And And we considered that, but we went back to this and, put time and resources in to go back to this to make sure that we were doing the right thing for the neighbourhood.
Thank you. I guess just a follow-up comment for myself. I think we just have to be careful to consider the 4 tests and not make our decision based on the assumption that people are going to enter these leases and breach them by having cars and parking on the street and not acting in accordance with bylaw. So just something to consider.
I'm just not convinced that a 3-bedroom unit will only have 1 car. Especially, if you look at most neighborhoods, if there is a 3-bedroom unit, most people will have more than 1 car. But is that going to be a requirement that you're only allowed to have 1 car? Then that will deter families that have more than 1 car. Is that correct? Is it going to be in the contract? I know the one with no car will be, but
It's always in our rental contracts of how many parking spaces they have. And we have many families and 3-bedroom units that only have 1 car.
So let's say I'm a family of 3 and I move in and I have 1 car and then I decide to buy another car. And what happens then? Do I have to evict the place?
Well, if the bylaws called on them, that would be a problem. And yes, I guess that would be up to the tenants, that's no longer in their lease. They don't have another parking space there. So that would be addressed.
I think we've discussed this enough and I understand everybody is on different pages, but...
Yeah, so if we had some good discussion here, if there's no further comments to be made, is anything new, we'll call for the vote, and what happens that way, right? So,
Just for clarification, Mr. Chair, because this has gone around and around, we are voting to not support the parking variance.
No, the motion on the floor is to approve the staff recommendation, which is to approve the variance on parking. So voting in favor would approve the variance, which is the reduction in parking spots to the 2. So if you vote in favor, it's supporting the variance of parking. Refusal would be you don't agree. So I will call for the vote. All those in favor. So seeing 2, all those opposed, 3. So it's defeated, 3-2. Okay, thank you. Good luck. Moving along in our agenda, we next have A 2025-066, 508 New Dundee Road. If I can invite the planning coordinator to introduce the application and the staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 508 New Dundee Road. The applicant would like to construct a new detached garage. This will facilitate restoration of vintage vehicles because the garage will only be accessed once, maybe twice a year at max. They're proposing that the driveway be comprised of grass rather than a hard surface material, and to permit that driveway not to be of a distinguishable material, so to be of grass and not of a hard surface, concrete or asphalt material. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the 4 tests of the Planning Act. We find that it meets all 4. It's going to maintain that green space, backyard use, rear yard use, open space character of the property. We find the variance meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act to recommend approval.
Excellent. Thank you. If I can invite the agent of the applicant to come forward to the microphone, introduce yourself, please, and let us know if you reviewed the staff report and whether you're in support of the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brendan Lacey. I'm with MSS Architects. We're the agent for the landowner. I have reviewed the report, and we are in agreement with its recommendations.
Excellent, thank you. Any members in the gallery in opposition of this application? Seeing none. If you're in support, I don't imagine you have any further comments. Any questions for the agent? Mayor Marco?
Yeah, based on the plan provided, it looks like this is entirely, it doesn't go to a public street, it's entirely on the property.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, any questions for city staff? I just have a quick one. It's just like, so afterwards, if this property were to sell, then you owner could use this garage and then not have a driveway, correct?
Yes, it would be a detached structure without a hard driveway access to it, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. If there's no further questions, comments? No, Bob, sorry. Didn't mean to jump the gun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the first time I have seen an application come to the Committee of Adjustment where staff is recommending the driveway be grass. I'm speechless, which is unusual. I think it's, considering the location of the property, the size of the property, taking all things into consideration, a couple of questions, I think that's a reasonable solution. So I don't know whether the agent can answer this question, and you don't have to. I mean, this is not a planning question, it's just a personal question. You're going to be restoring vintage vehicles?
Yes, the landowner has a collection of vintage vehicles that he wants to put on display in this kind of structure. And because of the nature of the vehicles, the issue is mainly just how to get the vehicles into the building where they'll kind of stay on display. And given that the location of the structure is sort of behind a set of existing landscaped areas, he didn't feel it would be appropriate to put in a fixed driveway that wouldn't be used very often and disrupt the landscape. Yeah.
Okay, well, just to further my question, you probably don't know what kind of vehicles these are, and if you don't, it's just a personal question because I have a hobby of vintage vehicles and just kind of my own personal thing.
I don't know all of them, but I believe there's a Jaguar and a Land Rover, I think, and a couple others.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing that someday. But, you know, I mean, if it was fire trucks or something, that could be problematic. Question for staff. How is the policing going to be of it's only in once or twice a year? That's just up to the honor status of the owner?
Yeah, the reason with staff are supporting this driveway, it's not a required driveway, and those are not required parking spaces. So that's a differentiating between our other reviews of applications with driveways and distinguishable materials. So staff have no concerns. It's not a required driveway. They're not required parking spaces. It's a hobby. What happens with the hobby is not, it's not required. So staff are not concerned about the regulation of the driveway and are happy that it remains grass and open space on the property.
Thank you. That addresses most of my questions. I'm just kind of concerned what may happen down the road 20 years from now. And I probably won't have to worry about that. You folks will. So I'm in support of this. I think it's a unique opportunity for a hobbyist to do some really neat stuff. And maybe we'll see the results of some of this hobby stuff at some point in the future. So I'm in support of this application, Mr. Chair.
Is that a motion?
Sure.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a seconder? Member Marco, unless you had some other comment before, I'm sorry. Both. Okay, want we have it for debate? All right, cool. So we have a motion and a seconder. The floor is open for debate. Member Marco.
Yeah, when I first started reading this application, I was really surprised that staff were okay with a grass driveway. And then as I read further, I realized it's sort of an extension of an existing driveway going between a building that's towards the center of the site to a part of the driveway that is towards the center of the site. It's very far from any public rights of way, even if they were to use it somewhat frequently. It's the property owner's lawn. If it were going right up to a street and was access to the site, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. But as far as I'm concerned, it's their lawn.
Transportation had no concerns just due to the size of the building as well. There's not going to be 100 vehicles unless there's some kind of stacking system, so we imagine very, very, very low usage.
Excellent, thank you for that. Any no further comments? Then I will call for the vote, which, yeah, all those in favor to approve this application. Unanimous, so carried. Good luck. Yeah, moving along in the agenda, next we have A 2025-067 and A 2025-068, 38 Fifth Avenue, units A and B. If I can please invite the planning coordinator to introduce the application and staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. You have two minor variance applications for property at 38 Fifth Avenue. The proposal is to develop the property with a semi-detached dwelling. It's a unique semi-detached dwelling in that there will be a shared driveway at the base of the foundation rather than a foundation itself. So the driveway is proposed to go underneath the building to the rear yard. This requires a variance because our definition of semi-detached dwelling requires that the building be divided vertically into two dwelling units by a common wall which prevents internal access and extends from the base of the foundation to the roof line. So we're suggesting that a variance is required to permit a shared driveway in this location rather than a foundation wall. So that's the first variance. The second two variances relate to the driveway width. So it's to permit that shared driveway, so not having a minimum 2.6 meter driveway, but 1.5 on each side of the semi-detached unit, and then a maximum driveway width of 8.5 meters in the rear yard instead of the maximum 8 meters. And we do support driveway widenings in the rear yard away from the public realm and streetscape, and that's to facilitate shared parking between the two properties. The fourth variance before you this morning is a maximum building height variance going from 11 to 11.5 meters, and this is because of the unique grade of the property. So a slight variance in height. Staff have reviewed the four variances in light of the tests of the Planning Act. We find that it meets all four and is recommending approval of the applications.
Thank you for that. If I can invite the agent and the applicant to introduce themselves, please, whether you've reviewed the staff report and if you are in support of it. Thank you.
Thanks very kindly, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is John MacDonald of John MacDonald Architect, and I represent the applicant. We have read the report and are supportive of it. This application is a little bit technical in terms of definition because of the innovative approach to how we're handling parking and access to the parking. I've distributed something briefly for your review. The staff report itself has a number of photos of the existing context, but not a photo of the volume of the building, which is immediately adjacent. It has photos of a house on one side, but not photos of a house on the other. And I wanted to distribute that just to point out, in previous applications this morning, you've heard sort of concerns around parking and concerns around context and streetscape. And this approach that we work through with the owner and also with city staff attempts to more normalize the streetscape and context and work within existing volumes. The height of the building is, of course, measured to the very, very top of the roof, the peak of the roof. And you'll notice that we've worked the upper floor of the two-story units into the roofscape itself in order to ensure that we're not imposing overly on the context in terms of how things look. The volume of the duplex that you see beside it is very significant. There's no doubt this kind of neighborhood is undergoing intensification and change, and we want to find a way where the comments of previous applications regarding what is the reality of units and parking are in fact addressed and accommodated, and we think we've done that. This, in turn, has looked, from staff's point of view, at how those variances would work in the privatized rear yard. They have had concerns around landscape area, and we have met those landscaped areas. We have also worked with staff to point out that there are significant balconies and private amenity areas associated with these units, which we think are sort of integral to the quality of life and the amenity area associated with the units, although they are not required. But when we put parking in the rear, we want to be cognizant of the amenity area that is available to the residents and the units. So we are of support, and I'm certainly here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the application. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Are there any members in opposition in the gallery who want to speak on this application? Seeing none. Any questions here for the agent from committee members? Member Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I might be either for staff or the agent. It was actually brought forward in the staff report. This isn't going to be a severance, is it?
I believe it is. That is, will be interesting at the time of severance because reference plan will have to be creatively drafted to deal with the shared driveway on the ground floor. So I'd be a strata reference plan, strata consent, which the committee may not have seen in the past, but it is possible.
Okay, it would have been convenient for this committee to know that there is a plan, although it is there on figure 2, proposed new property line. It would have been nice to deal with both of these issues together. What concerns might you have from the staff level or professional planning level when this comes through for a severance? Because I would have liked to have seen this at the same time.
Yeah, so there's an expense to a reference plan that the applicant is not prepared to put forward at this time, and I agree. Let's get the variances approved and get it built, and then we can come in and sever it afterwards. There are no concerns from a staff point of view in terms of severance, whether the driveway functions underneath the building or above grade. There'll be easements and shared access on the driveway registered, so there shouldn't be any concerns whether the driveway was below grade or at grade.
Thank you. That answers that question. Just a comment before we move ahead to the architect. This is a very innovative solution to a parking problem. So kudos to the applicant and architect for coming up with such an innovative plan. That's all my comments, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. It is quite the unique and convoluted approach to a parking solution. We can see a picture in this diagram you've given us of the adjacent property that's all asphalt. It's frustrating. I think the solution that you provided will be more landscaping. I wonder and worry like how parking like below grade will work, especially in the wintertime, and how that works even from a snow removal perspective, but that's not my responsibility to figure that out. Yeah, this is an interesting design and concept here. It's really complicated. I'm finding that. I think that's my struggle with this one is just how minor is this variance, but it is a creative approach to adding density and parking. Any questions for this agent? I'll go member Marco first, and you after member Amanda. Thank you.
I have a question for staff, if that's all right. I think this is a really clever arrangement. Are there any concerns from emergency services? I don't know that there were.
So we worked with the applicant, and there will be dedicated walkway, 1.1 meter walkways to all units. With regards to the drive aisle, it is 3 meters wide, so it may be inconvenience for the users. But that being said, we recommended outbound users yield to incoming traffic just due to the ramp grade. And because if you're exiting, that means you left a parking spot. So that means there is somewhere to go back to.
Just to make sure I'm understanding the design, so does the parking go entirely under the building, or is it just kind of like a downgraded driveway that's partially covered by the building?
So through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee member, the access to the parking flows downwards to below grade and through under the building. Effectively, it is a void, let's call it, within the building. The intention is to have a garage door on it, so we kind of normalize the look of things. But all of the parking is in the rear yard area beyond the building.
Okay. So it's a throughfare essentially. Okay.
Sorry?
It's a through trail through the property. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, super interesting. It'll be very interesting for the lawyer to draft those easement terms. And get that registered. So it'll be interesting when that eventually comes through the consent stage. And then presumably, in terms of grading, that'll all be done similar to any other underground parking site plan stage?
So again, through yourself, Mr. Chair, to committee member.
Sorry, John, if you just speak a little bit into the mic, I'm having a harder time hearing if that's okay. My apologies.
Oh,
thank you.
Move over a little here. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee member. We certainly would take advice from staff regarding how things are arranged at building permit stage. There are less than 10 units, so I don't believe it's subject to formal site plan approval, so it could be corrected by staff. But at building permit stage, this certainly will be visited. It is our intention to look at basic issues of stormwater because of the nature of the lot is that there is a couple of feet of fall from street level already into the backyard. But as we introduce the parking, it will be lowered slightly again. And so there will be a tendency to collect stormwater. And so the intention is to actually have a storm connection to the street in order to facilitate. And just by the by, we have also created a sort of extra deep driveway turn feature so that the last car can back out, but it's a little deeper than normal so that snow storage can be accommodated in that area.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just be curious hearing from staff, just I'm not an engineer, but just immediate responses like, oh, grading is going to be a hot button item. And if it's not subject to site plan approval, I don't know if it is or not. So I'd be just curious how that's going to be handled.
Yes, good question. So yes, 10 units or less are not subject to site plan approval, but we have amended our building permit processes as a response, or response to Bill 23, which did not require the site plan approval no longer. So that meant we had to change our building permit process to ensure that we get and review the drawings that we need. So there's no stormwater drainage impacts on adjacent properties.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just also like to note we worked with the applicant, so this driveway ramp does meet all of our parking garage standards in terms of the grade change, because we wanted to make sure that vehicles wouldn't bottom out. And we did discuss vertical vehicle clearance as well, and it does meet regular standards.
If there's no further questions to the agent or then to city staff, I'll wait for a motion. Marco.
I will move the staff recommendation to approve.
Excellent. Seconder? Maria. So to the motion on the floor, and seconder, and the floor now is open for debate. Yeah, listen, this seems like really quite the complicated solution here, but, and I'm not an architect, an engineer, or a lawyer, but people seem to think this is going to work. Doesn't feel minor to me. It seems really complicated, but it's above my pay grade, and people think this is going to work. Why not? That's where I stand with this.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, you have some common sense, quite a bit. I've known you for a while, and so even though you're not an architect, engineer, lawyer, or a religious leader, we still can apply common sense to this, and I think that this is a good idea. I mentioned earlier with one of the previous applications that I wish I had that magical formula on how we can solve the issues of density and parking. I think this is maybe baby steps towards that. I think it's a good idea. So I'm very much in support of this, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you for that. And to that point, like, I do like the parking at the back, and I think it works even aesthetically in comparison to the property that's adjacent to this one. Like, I don't like just seeing all asphalt, so this, in theory, if it works, I think it could be a great solution. Marco.
Yeah, I think this is a very clever solution. Surface parking is a lot cheaper than underground parking. I think a while ago we saw an application of similar scale that did have sort of underground parking, which can get really expensive. Yeah, I think this is a very clever solution, and I'm absolutely in support of it.
So if there's no further debate or comments, we'll call for the vote, which is to approve. So all those in favor? Yeah, unanimous, carried, good luck. Next on our agenda, 2025-069 and A 2025-070, 439 Alice Avenue, units A and B. So if I can ask the planning coordinator, please, to introduce the application and the staff recommendation, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. These two variance applications are for a property at 439 Ellis Avenue. It's to facilitate the development of a semi-detached dwelling with 3 dwelling units in each side. They plan to construct the dwelling unit first, so the variances are required to get that building permit, and then I believe the plan is to come in for severance at a later date in time once that semi-detached dwelling has been constructed. So there are a number of variances. There's 5, I believe. So 4 for minor variance 069 and 5 variances for 070. The variances are to facilitate, as I said, the semi-detached dwelling. So they require the front yard setback, exterior side yard setback, minor variance to the lot width, interior side yard setback, and again, another parking variance. We've done a lot of work with the applicant to get to a point where to be able to support this application, including protection of street trees, which is a primary objective for city staff. So we've done, I would say, weeks of work with the applicant to be able to get to this point. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of the 4 tests of the Planning Act. We find that they meet all 4 and are recommending approval of the applications, subject to a condition that we get a building plan demonstrating protection of adjacent trees on properties and more importantly, the street trees that we've worked so hard at protecting through this process.
Thanks so much for that. Looks like there was a lot of work on this application. If I can ask the agent of the applicant to come forward to the microphone, please introduce yourself, let us know if you reviewed the staff report and whether you are in support of it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wasik Gulreis from Alphatron, so I am the applicant for this property. I accept the recommendations by the staff.
Thank you. Anyone here in opposition to this application? Seeing none. If you're in support of it, I don't think you have any further comments, but if you do, welcome to. Any questions for the agent applicant from committee members? Any questions for city staff? Seeing no questions, and I'll just wait for a motion then. We'll need a motion on this, guys, if there's no questions. Member Bob?
Did we get a motion?
We did not. We're waiting for one.
Then, to keep things moving along, I will move that this be approved as per the staff report. I will have some comments, though.
Thank you. So that's moved by Member Bob. Looking for a seconder. Member Amanda. So we have a first and a seconder. Floor is now open for debate. I'll kick it to you, Member Bob.
Just a quick comment, and this won't come as a surprise to staff. Whenever I see the number 0 for setback, that kind of raises a red flag for me. 0 is an absolute number. I know in this particular case, it seems to work. And I guess other than that, I'm in support of this. I made the motion.
Yeah, I can answer that question for you. So zoning bylaw 85-1 permitted 0-meter setbacks with maintenance easements for offset or staggered walls of semi-detached dwellings and townhouse dwellings. That was removed in the new zoning bylaw. We still love that type of development, that type of built form. It adds variety to a semi-detached dwelling, townhouse dwelling. So we're looking at adding a provision back to our zoning bylaw to allow that 0 meter for offset walls, but there needs to be the maintenance easement there. So where the semi-detached dwellings on one lot, it's not a concern, but when this application comes in for consent, we'll be able to create those maintenance easements at the same time to facilitate the 0 meter lot line development.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's another one of those complicated ones where it's a corner lot, and corner lots always make things more challenging and complicated as far as setbacks and how things look. Yeah, this is certainly like a lot going on in this application, but I can tell they've worked really hard on it with city staff, and there still seems to be a lot of question marks, but there's some good guardrails there with the conditions that were set in this application, that things should move along well and in the right way. So, yeah, any other comments or debate regarding this application? If I'm seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, which is for approval. So all are in favor, it's unanimous. Good luck. Next, we have agenda number 6.7. It's B 2025-021, 546 Cortland Avenue East. Member Amanda claimed a conflict on this one, so she's just walking out right now. So then as soon as she is out of the room, we will look to get this going. So Amanda is out of the room. If I can kindly ask the planning coordinator to introduce the application and staff recommendation, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Consent application for 546 Cortland Avenue East. Consent to sever a triangular-shaped parcel of land to be added as a lot addition to an adjacent property at 265 Bedford Road. Staff have reviewed the application for consent and finds that it meets provincial, regional, and city policies and is recommending approval subject to conditions.
Thank you so much. If I can invite the agent, the applicant, for this application to come forward to the microphone, please introduce yourself, if you reviewed the staff report, and whether you're in support of it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jessica McConnell. I'm the agent representing the owner applicant. We have reviewed the staff report and we are aligned with its conditions.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone in the gallery in opposition? I'm not seeing a single soul, so I think we're okay there. Any questions for the agent here from committee members? Rob?
Not that it really matters a whole bunch. This is a fairly small piece of property. Now you don't have to answer this. This is not a planning issue. What is the purpose of transferring a small little piece of property like this?
Purchased the land and agreed with his backyard neighbor to sever this tiny portion and add it as a lot addition to his neighbor's property.
Would staff have an idea as to what the purpose of this would be? I don't want to waste anyone's time, though.
Yeah, no, I think if you look at figure 3 in the staff report, it looks like there's an existing fence there. So it looks like the property owner at Bedford's been using this property, maybe informally, for a number of years and just wanted to formalize the actual use of the property. As I said, there's a fence that you can see in figure 3 of the staff report, which looks like it follows that triangular shape.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for the agent? Any questions for city staff? I'll wait for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move that this be approved as per the staff report. It's fairly straightforward, just a little unusual, but we've had unusual cases here today, which is nice. Add some change to the regular thing. So that's my motion.
Thank you for that. Member Marco, seconder? Excellent. So Member Marco second that. So we have a first and a seconder. Floor is open for debate on this one. Straightforward to me, so I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the approval? So all hands are up. Unanimous? Approved? Good luck. All right. Member Rennie came back an exciting point. We're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I can do it.
Perfect.
I'd like to put a motion forward to adjourn this meeting.
Excellent. Great work. Member Marco, you second that? Excellent. We have a seconder. So all those in favor? Carried.